and how we can develop those in Canvas. So first of all, what is student or self-paced? Essentially, it's designing your course so that students can move throughout content whenever they've achieved mastery. So we all have taught in classes where we have a couple students who get it right away, and then a couple students who you need more attention, needs more time. So this is just so that you kind of get away from that blueprint, and students are working through the content as they please and as they can. It doesn't need to be an entire course, so this could just be a group of 2 or 3 lessons. It could be one lesson, and if you wanted it to be a homework assignment lesson, it could just be that. But all it is just something where students work through it at their own pace. Another important aspect of a student or self-paced course is that basically content needs to be locked, and then as students move through the content, they'll slowly and surely unlock each of the next steps. So although you could consider something that is student paced as something where all the content is available all at once, it is shown through studies that it is more effective if you kind of guide them in what they should be working on at once rather than letting them skip back and forth around the whole course. Okay, what are some benefits? Well, we've all taught that class where you have some students who get it right away, some students who need a little bit extra attention. Well, what seems to happen once you get those students who get it right away and you're still teaching the same concepts as you get students who are bored. When students get bored, they start doing things like making paper airplanes and throwing them around the classroom and not enjoying being in the classroom space because they feel like they already understand it. What's great about student or self-paced is in that environment, the student could just move on to the next lesson. What other good thing there is that then you can actually focus on the students who are falling behind in content, help those students rather than giving the entire class help on a unit that they already know, where part of them already know it. You can just focus your attention on the people who need more support. So when it comes to building your own, there's some things you need to think about here. One, what is your base module going to be? What I mean by base module or base step is what is going to be available from the beginning. So when students first enter this group of lessons or the whole course in general, what's their first step that they can complete before unlocking all the other modules or steps? Then you also need to think about what is the order that things go in. So what is the flow chart or kind of the beginning, middle, and end timeline of lessons you want students to go through? And then lastly, what assessments are going to take place? So what are you going to do to make a student prove mastery before moving on to the next module? Classically, this would be a quiz, but obviously as a teacher, you can get creative with what you would want this to be. That being said, you definitely want that assessment to really measure learning in a valid and accurate way. Okay, you're just a sample. Okay, I think that in every module, you should include 3 things. 1, you should explain the learning goals, so the student should be aware of what they're supposed to know. There should be some sort of lesson, okay, or instructional strategies. Whether this is just having them doing a reading or looking over a diagram, going through a PowerPoint, having some sort of video, doing a flipped classroom where rather than giving a presentation in the class, you do a screen recording, kind of what I'm doing right now. There's tons of different ways you can provide instruction, but make sure that there's some sort of instruction and then end it with an assessment before they can move on to the next module. As I said before, that could be a quiz, that could be a writing assignment, it could be a small project, it could be some sort of product they have to produce, whatever would fit closest to your instructional goals. All right, lastly, why would a teacher from St. John's use a self-paced lesson? Well, for those of you who have lived in the DMV for a while, we do get sporadic cases of snow, and we don't always have all of the infrastructure to clean up the snow piles. So there's often times where students will be missing for multiple days. There's even been cases where we've missed a week of school before. So creating some sort of self-paced set of lessons while there's a big snowstorm would be a great way to not maybe to make your students a little upset, but more importantly to move through some content even while you're away from the classroom. I think AP classes, this is a great opportunity for AP teachers because I know that you have so much content to get through, and sometimes you really just don't have enough time to get through all of it before the AP test. Well, what you could do is you could design your class so that you get through as much as you can during the day and then set some up for an on your own self-paced lesson for students to do at home. I know it would be a lot of work, but it would definitely be a way for them to at least get some sort of instruction rather than it's your job to read the book. So maybe just something getting away from reading guides and readings. You could include some of that self-paced lessons. If you're going to be absent, let's say you're taking 3 days off to go on vacation, but you want to make sure you're still moving through content, make an online self-paced 3-day lesson course. The students can move through that. Some of them may need to finish at home. Some may be able to finish the second day. But you'd be able to move through however much content you'd want to move through in that time. You could make a homework assignment. And as I said before when I was talking about AP classes, okay, you could do this in any class. I would advise not just doing a one-day assignment. I mean, if you're going to make it self-paced, you should cover a couple different things. So by the end of the week, you should finish this. So, maybe you're trying to move through a chapter of your textbook quickly. You might assign one section with a couple lessons in it for homework, and then you teach about the other section during class. The last big thing is blended learning. During summer school, we've adopted some blended learning techniques. So since you're not meeting every day, one great way to make sure that they are still learning is by putting together some self-paced lessons and making sure they're progressing through it appropriately. So anyways, this is, I'm about to show you on Canvas how you can actually design this, but I hope you enjoyed this presentation and that it was useful for you. Thanks for listening. No way. Oh. So the first thing you want to do is you need to create a base module. This module is going to be something that's available from the get-go, from the beginning, that right when students log into the course, they'll be able to do it. All right. So I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to call it What is Canvas? All right, so now you need to decide what do you want to add to your base module. Well, for mine, I've already made all the pages and everything ahead of time. If you have not done this yet, you'll have to make the pages first. So I'm going to add the lesson 1, what is Canvas? Okay, and I'm also going to add Canvas walkthrough, which is lesson 2. All right, so both of these have been added. All right, the last thing I want to add is a little quiz. Okay, so I made a sample 1-question quiz called Canvas 101 quiz, or what is Canvas quiz? I'm sorry, excuse me. Okay, so these 3 things are all in the base module. So essentially, you will not be able to move on to step 2, or what is the second module in the self-paced course, until you complete this What is Canvas quiz. Now, for creating the next module, all we have to do is click on Add Module. What's this module going to be called? Preparing for Day 1 of class. Okay. What's our prerequisite for this? Well, it's our base step or our base module. What is Canvas? So that is now added. What content do we want in preparing for the first day of class? So let's go to our pages and select some of our lessons. This is going to be lessons 3 through 5. So setting up a Canvas page. Then we're going to do lesson 4, adding students. And then lesson 5, uploading the syllabus. Now, if we were to make this all entirely designed so that you had to go through these processes in order to get your page set up, we got to think about some things that we would require. So 1, all teachers, we all send in our syllabus to our department chairs and then also to the administration. So one thing that we could just add on Canvas here would be an assignment where we submit our syllabus to that assignment. Okay, so I made this already, and where would we want to put this? Well, we'd want to put it before lesson 5, right? So you go through learning about how to set up a Canvas page, adding students, and then you'd submit your syllabus. It would get approved, and once it's approved, you can then upload your syllabus to Canvas. All right, so that would be one way to add an assessment into your first or into this module. Okay, this module is a little different than most because obviously it's all informative and there isn't really a necessary end-all assessment versus if you were making something about chapter 20 in your textbook, right? You could very easily have a quiz at the end. One thing that I recommend for all your student-paced modules is to include an assessment at the end. Now, it could be a quiz. It could just be an assignment. I'm not doing it in this second module because it doesn't really make sense to put a quiz based off, do you understand how to upload a syllabus or add students or set up a Canvas page? I could do that, but really, in reality, your assessment is your setup Canvas page, which we don't need anybody to grade that. You just need that to function for your first day of school. However, as I said before, you'd want to put a quiz or some sort of assignment at the end. All right, so now we're going to make the third module. You've completed all the prerequisites here. All right, this module is now going to be about lesson 6, making assignments. Okay, what are our prereqs? Well, you need to have done what is Canvas. You also need to have done preparing for day 1 of class. So we've made our prereq, so that means that students will not be able to access this until they've passed the 1-question quiz in what is Canvas and until they've finished preparing for day 1 of class. So what content do we want to put in here? Well, first I want to put the page for lesson 6. Okay, so lesson 6, how to make assignments. Okay, and then I also want to add an assignment at the end because remember I said we always want to have an assessment at the end just to build some student accountability here. And my assignment is first assignment of the year. So what this is basically you're taking an assignment idea that you have and you're submitting some screenshots that show that your assignment has been finished. Okay, so that you made it in Canvas, it's designed on there, you're submitting it. All right, so that means before we move on to lesson 7, you would need to have submitted that assignment. Okay, so module 7 or lesson 7, okay, would be making groups. Okay, our prereqs are now what is Canvas, what is preparing for day 1 of class, and making assignments. All right, so I think you guys are kind of getting the gist of it here. You would then add a lesson that you want. So for me, it would be lesson 7, creating groups, and then add an assignment at the end. So my assignment would probably be a sample group set. Okay, so if I added an assignment here,